Welcome back to Summoner's Rift. It's Clash Midnight against G2 Hell on our final match of the whole tournament. And here is a Game 3. Solari, this is what we asked for.
Yes, finally our biggest wish has been granted, has been fulfilled. Game 3, ladies and gentlemen, Clash Midnight, G2 Hell. I can't wait to see how it's going to unravel. Especially, I would say I am super curious about the top lane, because we have Sana on a very strong side top lane, a very aggressive, proactive top laner, and she is the destroyer of the weak side, as she claims herself. But this is not the weak side that you can really go on and destroy, right? This is Own. Own doesn't care. Own just stays there, Own farms, Own leaves, Own deals damage, Own kills you if you misstep. You know, all those things are just there for him.
It's almost a Dr. Moon. On does as he pleases. And I think it's going to be the same thing, as you said. Lizia can really stand her ground, be very... No, I'm not gonna say peaceful, because the On has quite a potential in the beginning of the game, but definitely a tower, a wall to get things defended in the top lane. Even if it's a 2v1, we have On going in for a scouted out potential deep ward. They are being defended by Set. I don't know if they're able to do so. And on the other hand, they have protected both their sides of the jungle, both red buffs, heavy ward just outside the corner.
And both junglers are starting on the different sides of the map. We have a potential of Sheena having an early gank onto the top lane, trying to set things up for Alicia, trying to shut down Sana, because in the previous game, I would say Lilian definitely was on the spotlight for the majority of the game, but that triple kill in the end for Sana and that aggressiveness from her onto this poor little yodel on the top lane was maybe a little bit too much for G2 to deal with. And while Lizia is still super effective on the side lanes as a split pusher, they really needed her as a front line with a lot of additional damage and control in the last team fight, and she was just unfortunately put in a state where she wasn't able to deliver what was needed for her team. So maybe it's time to change things up a little bit and shut Sana down.
Speaking of her, I think that she's doing such a good job here at trying to deny some of the pressure in the lane, taking down the farm, also putting in that big diva ward. Has been pinged, spotted by G2 as well, but it's important for Clash to have that control over where Vi is. So very nicely done. You being in such a bruiser that Sats can be, I think that is the place to go.
And the place to go for Sejuani right now is being on the bot side of the map. I really wonder what the situation around the Dragons is going to look like this game, because previously we saw G2 just dominating the majority of the Drakes. Even in the previous game, they still were in control of the first 3 Drakes in a row in that game. Will they continue this trend? And also, of course, everybody's question is, are they going to get the Infernal Soul again?
Oh my god, that would be such a moment. There is no soul already for Inferno. It's a Mountain Drake that's going to be the first one. So that is still on the table. Very interesting if that's going to be the case. As you said, both junglers are going on opposite sides. Potentially we will see Delicate into the bot lane. Xayah is a little bit aggressive on her positioning, and it looks like potentially Cultist is freezing out the lane, but Sheena is having a look here at the top lane while she knows that Lizia has been pushing quite heavily to shove this wave.
And there is no possibility for G2 Hell to do anything on the top lane right now. No possibility to rotate Sheena there. She just has to recall. Still, Scout Cup on the bot lane is available, so this is most probably where Delicate is going to go right now. Then a recall, it is going to leave a minute before the Drake is going to spawn. Very good time for either of the teams to start, putting some vision around it, to start rotating even maybe towards it a little bit already. Remember that Sheena is playing on Vi in this game, which means she really needs to try... that was close. But she really needs to try to farm up to level 6 as quickly as possible, and after that to go completely unleashed on the lanes.
I will have to say, if I'm Kiana, I'm actually happy that didn't hook, because it would have been a little too deep. So I'm glad for her that that wasn't the case. And I agree with you, Solari. We have the Drake coming up in 20 seconds. The Scuttle Crab is Clash Midnights, and you're going to see G2 Hell being on the side of the map, so it doesn't look like Clash wants to go for the Drake just yet. They want to clear out their side of the jungle and then point out in that direction. And thus far, the communication for Clash looks to be push really heavily, so it might indicate that Sejuani is coming around for this first Drake.
And look at that. Sana is pushing quite heavily on the top lane, which is a normal situation. The top lane's dynamic is that it bounces forth to back between the turrets usually. But Sana is very aggressive right now and actually taking a lot of damage from Lizzie. Remember, that's still on, dealing a lot of damage. The fact that she's pushing on the top lane means that for Sheena right now, there could have been a choice of whether you want to go towards the dragon and start putting in the vision and maybe taking the early Drake, or do you want to rotate towards the top lane? Because your bot lane is not really in the best situation. There is prio for Clash Midnight, not for your own bot lane. You don't really have such a good leash as you had before that in the previous games. With Lulu, it's much easier to play from the defensive side rather than the offensive. Because of that, we see Sheena on the top part of the map, and for the first time in God knows how long, Clash Midnight are the ones taking the first Drake in their hands.
Well, would you look at that? The same way as we had a sweep breaker for this Grand Finals of Pathfinders, it's going to be a first Drake breaker for Clash Midnight, as you said, Solari. And one thing that I was going to say is that for the moment that you had Skitter Crab for Clash Midnight, it made sense for G2 to try to maybe potentially wait it out because they already had the vision, but I don't think they really predicted that Clash was going to be as proactive as G2 themselves have been in the previous games.
And it's really something that is a new terrain for G2. Usually they are the ones who dictate the pace of the game, who dictate what is going to happen and when. But right now, there was a very nice recall stop, by the way, from G2 Tifa. But right now, G2 Hell are the ones having to answer to what Clash Midnight are putting on the table. There is already a slight difference in goal between the teams, but I have a feeling that might become bigger somewhere soon. We are looking at Sheena being super close to level 6. We're looking at Tifa having level 6 already, and she has the possibility to rotate between the lanes if she wants to help somebody out. So, you know, it sounds like a very good setup for a fight somewhere very soon.
It's the same case for Lady Anne as well. You have both mid laners with the ultis unlocked. They have quite a lot of mobility, the TP as well. So that could be something that could go down soon enough. On the top lane, you have Senna and the Ornn for Lizia. And one thing that I want to say, I just think it's very unfair that Ornn deals this much damage. It's supposed to be such a tanky crowd control champion, and yet he's just still doing so well against Sat. How? Why? Right, tell me.
Ornn does well against pretty much everybody. That's the thing about Ornn. That's why we see him being banned out so damn often. He is an exceptionally strong weak side. You can just leave him alone at top lane knowing that he is most probably not going to die. And if he dies, it will take quite a lot of people from the enemy team to go and take him down. And then later on the team fights, you will see just how useful he is going to be for G2, the team that really loves to team fight, and Ornn is the perfect team fighter for anybody who wants to have a little bit of engage coming from their top laner.
And Clash have really been proactive once again in getting the priority for the first Herald of the game, and that is something I would love to see. It's looking like a potential coin flip and a reverse sweep for Clash if we see G2 really going for a different sort of playstyle. Is this already planned? They are going to go for an invade and potentially pinging out here for a gank, a dive in the bot lane as Countess has pushed the wave quite a bit. I think they plan to disengage now. They don't need Tifa, I think that's what they say, while Sheena and Colombo are going very deep in the back line. You're gonna have Vitus going over the wall, spotting that red buff and stealing it should Clash allow it to happen.
This is a very good move from G2 Hell. Right now, they realized that they were losing the prio on the top side of the map. With Sana, it is really hard to have anything going around the top lane in general. With the Herald being taken by Clash Midnight, you cannot really go on and answer it immediately. It's going to take it too long to rotate towards this side of the map. What do you do instead? You answer, and this is something G2 Hell have been really persistent in doing throughout all the games we have seen from them so far in this tournament. They always try to find some answer on the map. We cannot do something where the enemy is, we need to do something where the enemy isn't, and in their case it was pushing in the bot side of the map heavily.
Precisely, but unfortunately for G2 Hell, I don't think there has been any breach for that Clash has opened, because every single time, considering the first Drake and the first Herald of the game, they were there on top of it. Something that you guys mentioned, being one step ahead, always in advance to get to those objectives, and Clash is nailing that to a T. So, something that I want to ask you, Solari, is this change of pace on G2 something that they thought was going to happen? Is it something they are playing accordingly, or do you think this is purely Clash dictating the pace?
It's hard to say for sure, to be honest. I can only speculate from that on, but just looking at the draft from G2, this is not a draft that wants to win in the early game. You don't really have a lane that is going to win the lane per se. Yes, you have a very nice counter pick on the mid lane in the face of Tifa, but Tifa does not guarantee that the lane is going to be won for her. In fact, she is behind in terms of CS right now compared to Liliana on Ahri. Ornn is a weak side, he's not really going most probably to go for a kill unless Sana makes a mistake. Pretty much the same on the bot lane. Khalees and Kalambable both are pretty much offensive oriented bot lane right now. Again, unless Clash Midnight makes a mistake. And I think this could be the plan of G2, you know, either to try and wait out the early game, or if Clash make a mistake, try to punish them for that. But so far it's just them waiting and then giving away some priorities for Clash Midnight.
They're not waiting in stasis, I would say. They're really focusing on what they can do at the moment, which is farm, farm, farm. Keeping that gold, it's going to be very crucial to them. And they're a little bit ahead. They're going in the fog of war, and now they're not in the fog of war. They're not really caring about that. So you have spotted Delicate very easily would placed over the wall as Clash Midnight is going to join here for the second Drake of the team. Is going to be a Chemtech, so no Chemtech sold this time around. 4 people from Clash have gathered. You have some vision for G2 Hell, but can they contest it? We'll see if that's going to be the case. Sheena is still trying to get some vision on it. I think I agree with that decision. Does the go, don't go in. That would be certain death. And Clash takes the second Drake of the game.
There was even a teleport coming in from Sana to the bot lane to make sure the Drake is going to be secured for Clash Midnight. This is the second Drake from them. They were super diligent about taking the Drakes in this game, which we saw how much of an impact it brought for them in the previous game. And I love that they're still sticking with what was working for them last time. It's going to be an Ocean Soul, by the way, so the RNG for G2 Hell has stopped working apparently. Maybe somebody needs to, you know, knock it and restart it. But the Ocean Drake is very nice as well, going to provide a lot of healing for whichever team decides to go for it. It's going to be beneficial for either. Softchun?
We are here going into this one. Yeah, I'm very sorry about that. Counter is going to be engaged upon. Has to pop the ult. It goes over the wall. There's still enough healing from the potion to be able to get away. But it's a lot that was used onto this ADC. Successfully culminating into this Herald being dropped in the bottom lane. Quite a lot of gold that's going to be reverted for Clash's bot lane.
And it's good gold. Xayah wants to get her item, starting with a mythic, by the way, judging by the fact that she's running with an Unclear, wants to have the domination during the lane, wait out with a mythic item a little bit. I am still learning the new AD carry builds because there have been so many opinions about 13 points, and we haven't really had a lot of professional tournaments to, you know, see what the real players of this game are making up for that build. So I'm not sure what exactly is going to be the final build for Cosmic, but I'm very, very curious to find out.
Me too, because we saw so much of Xayah recently. I casted quite a lot of collegiate. They always got the Xayah. It was a constant fight for Xayah Rakan, denying one, getting the other, and vice versa. Countess might be able to take that one. Okay, very close. But Cosmic is safe back to base. Gets that Storm Razor. Very nice power spike. At the same time, you have Countess with the Trinity. It's going to be very, very crucial to them. Both of them have completed that cull. We'll see what's going to be the pathing. I'm also very interested what would be the course of action for Cosmic's build.
So I think after the Storm Razor, it needs to be some additional crit chance for Xayah. I'm still thinking that Navori needs to happen for her because it just helps Xayah so much. She's an AD carry that is really reliant on her abilities and on them to have as little of cooldown as possible. And Navori are going to give her that very cooldown on abilities whenever she's attacking the enemies. And it's going to give her ability haste on the legendary items as well. They are sensing something, aren't they? The Clash Midnight's bot lane. They have to... Oh, yes! A very nice word. Nothing is going to happen out of this G2 Hell little trap. And they need to disengage after losing some time in that bush.
I was sorry. I was holding my breath, I will say. I was a little bit concerned. There was no vision for Clash. You saw them trying to get some vision on the first push. Nobody was there. Nobody was spotted with the Xayah Q. But other than that, well, we have a quick technical pause. But so far, we have Clash starting out the second Herald of the game. They have taken the 2 Heralds of the game. If this was G2, that would have been definitely the recipe for success. But that was what happened in the previous game. So something has been turned around, and maybe the G2 squad is getting a little bit of their own medicine.
Maybe, or maybe not, to be honest. It could be both sides. Maybe we are seeing Clash Midnight being firmly in control of the game, and they're just going to continue like that up until the very end, until the enemy nexus is blowing right before their eyes. Or maybe this is G2 having a very calculated beginning of the game. Remember, we still haven't really seen any kills, and if you pay attention to the gold and the CS, you will see that G2 Hell are actually in a very good position. There is no gold gap between the teams whatsoever right now. There is going to be, some more action around the turrets and stuff like that, but still G2 Hell have been managing to keep up with the gold for that team because they are farming non-stop. We know how Kaldis loves to farm, and her CS has been really exceptionally high in this game. But even in the jungle, there is a very big difference. Vi has been farming non-stop already, having completed her first item quite some time ago. Maybe even the second one, I'm not sure. We'll need to see about that when we go back into the game.
Yeah, potentially. I agree with you. I think there's at least 75% of the components for the second game already for the second item, already drafted here for
No.
Sheena. Oh, okay.
No, not really.
There you go. We thought she was a little more ahead. There you go. But yeah, it's the 14-minute mark already, almost reaching the 15-minute. No platings to be seen. No Herald to be seen, as it has been taken down by Clash Midnight. And do you think there's anything that has to change on the G2 side, or are we still trusting the process and letting the Zeri grow?
They need objectives. They gave away to dragons, they gave away the heralds, both of them I believe by this moment. They need to get the turrets, they need to get the next dragons. The soul is a pretty nice one, go for it if you're G2 held right now, be a little bit more proactive. What they're doing right now is that they could still actually be playing around their late game potential, because remember, they still have quite a lot of scaling on their hands. The fact that they haven't really given away any kills by this moment, the fact that they are still actually the ones leading in terms of the gold per team, means that if they just want to purely scale, they're doing everything very right.
I agree, Solari, I agree. But that is that crucial point you mentioned. You gotta have objectives at some point. And maybe that was the one thing that failed on the side of G2 in the last game. There's going to be a very nice engage from Clash. You're gonna have the heal being popped by Columbus Blur. They're going to engage this one. You have the Ornn on the back line. I don't think they really got Lysia. Ended up missing that Ornn horn, but Fast Blood, 16 minutes into the game, it is a Fast Blood for the Ornn. Lysia guarantees that one. They're going forward. Tifa, the Vi as well, and they decide not to go any further. There is a Drake spawning. You don't want to give anything away before this happens, because it's an Ocean Soul Solari. There is so many dark spots on the map, and you're going to take so much advantage of it if you are Liliane with the charm, if you are Delicate going in with that Glacial Prison. So far, G2 has vision all over the river, and Clash has disengaged. This is going to be the first Drake for G2 Hell in the game.
A very sane decision from Clash Midnight to disengage and to not try to pursue this Drake. There is a numbers advantage for G2 Hell when they're starting this Drake already. Even without the Ornn horn, there is still so many ultimates available for them that could completely turn the fight around if only Clash Midnight decided to step in. They decided to give it away. It's just one Drake. They say it's not really too big of a deal, even though we had something like that in the previous game, just now from a very different angle. But Clash Midnight are still in a pretty good spot, partially because they decided not to fight for this Drake.
I agree, it's a good decision. Clash decided to be a little more conservative about it. It's not so point yet for either of them, so we still have some lenience that can be. Oh, Colombo Boy is gonna get into such an ambush, and as I said once again, the more bushes, the more potential of sneak attacks that you can have. Clash is really used to using it to its full potential.
And I am loving that they're very aggressive right now. They were really deep in the enemy jungle. Look at the ward placement in the top part of G2 Hell's jungle. So much vision is available for Clash Midnight. They went in there specifically to put these wards in there, specifically to know how exactly G2 Hell are going to be moving around this part of the map. Very, very good decision from them. They see a lot, they know a lot, they read a lot. This also means that they can unleash the mid lane and the wood lane to do whatever they want on the other parts of the map, knowing just how many members of G2 are on the top side.
Potentially a skirmish going here with a flank coming from Liliana as she's repositioning from the mid lane. There's still quite a lot of wards, so they are spotting the Lissandra, the Lulu. They know that there's backup for G2 Hell on the top lane. Bottom lane is going to be Senna pushing quite heavily on that bottom tower, tier 2. And potentially Clash takes this one down. And we'll see if this is going to be a dive or not. They're still around 40% of the health here. We still have Sheena on the fog of war. Should they decide to go for an engage and successfully count is taking down the wave, should they want to take this one down?
Doesn't look like they necessarily want it right now, but the situation on the top lane is still very, very tense, I have to say. Don't forget also with what Ari can do around the fog of war, around the unwarded bushes, all the bushes that have vision for her own team. Instead, she can go in for very nice flank maneuvers, or Sheena actually can go in for disengage, because
It's a bait, that's all right.
Yeah. It's fine.
It's fine, and so is this technical pause. So, so far the stage of the game is dead even. Dead even 30.5 thousand gold for Clash Midnight, 30.4 thousand gold for G2 Hell. I think, Solari, this has to be the epitome of Grand Finals. It has to be the epitome of both teams breaking the glass ceiling.
Nobody really wants to go too aggressive. Nobody really wants to make mistakes, because if we know something about both of these teams, is that they can punish the mistakes of the enemy team and capitalize on them really, really nicely and exceptionally quickly. As both of these teams, you really want to approach this game very carefully. You know you don't have winning lanes for the early game per se. You don't really have the early game oriented champions. Both of them want to go into this mid game untouched. Ideally, the teams have been touched, but it's only 1-1 in terms of the kills so far. Looking really good for them. Everybody's just farming up. Everybody's just itemizing themselves up, which means that when we get to the big team fights, they're going to be hella explosive.
Yes, they will be, because at one point you think the enemies don't have that much damage, then you have a look, you just click your tab, and well, when did those items come from? Where did that come from? And the team fight starts, and something like that happens that we saw in the previous game where we had Keltis, Aphelios, and Graves on the jungle, just exploding cosmic. And even though that was the case, Clash Midnight coming out on top. Very good mental, I would say so myself. And if you think about it, I want us to think further about the team fights a little bit right now, because yes, they are going to be explosive, that much we know, but what else do we know about them? What I know is that there is so much engaged in this on the hands of G2 Hell right now that they need to be the ones who decide when the fight is going to happen. They need to be the ones pulling the trigger. We pretty much saw the rehearsal of this already on the bot lane with Lysia going in with own horn. I expect this is going to be the pivotal moment for the fights to start on the side of G2 Hell. And the engage from them is going to be really devastating for Clash Midnight, don't get me wrong, but I really think that this pickup of Set on the top lane could be the things that would change the team fights for good for Clash Midnight. Remember, what Set can do is that he can immediately remove one enemy member from the team fight for some time, but this time might just be enough for him and for his backlane to deal with the consequences. Definitely, especially when you have an Ari on your side, Liliana. We have seen how much you can do with this champion. We mentioned the amount of bushes that you have more now because of the Ocean Soul. You mentioned how she can exploit that to the maximum. So it would be an incredible combo for the Clash Midnight squad. On the other hand, I think that G2 Hell, you mentioned, do they know when to go in? If they go in, they have to be the ones to go in first. And I think we are still on that page. Considering how they have been defending this top lane turret, it's still hanging. They are really cleaning out the lane. They might even allow this to go down should they want to, because it might get a little too dangerous. They actually, Countess pops in that ulti. She's going to defend the tower a little bit more once again, and that really scares Delicate off from a potential engage, considering that she still had Glacial Prison.
You need to remember the delegate is a very important factor when it comes to stopping Kaltis from going unstoppable in the team fight. Zeri is only really scared of one thing, and this is the lockdown on the enemy team. There is quite a lot of control available for Clash, but the one from Sejuani is going to be the easiest one to pull on her, and it's going to last for pretty long if you combine her Q with her ultimate. This is just going to be a very nice way for Clash Midnight to deal with the main antagonist on the enemy team for them.
In Solari, on the other hand, we know that Countess has clans, and you know that she has Columbia on the, at least on the defensive push on the top lane. So they knew there were too many variables where Countess could actually outplay with her support that engage potential dive in the top lane. So I think it was a safe call. I think it was a good call from Clash. So was from Countess, using that cooldown, using her ulti just to defend that one. Now, because of that, they have rotated sides. Sat is going to be focusing that and has taken down the turret. It's a different sort of mechanic for defending that Lizia can do as an Ornn by herself, but it's a good transition because you're going to try to get a little more presence here close to the river in the bottom side due to the Drake spawning in 30 seconds.
Lysia has the teleport available, Lysia has the Ornn horn available. We are way past 14th minute in the game, which means Lysia can just jump onto the ward in a very nice spot, maybe even outflanking the enemies if G2Hell are going to prepare a nice ward for her though. Forget that, she's just walking in. The dragon has to be the next objective on the menu. Clash Midnight will put themselves onto a soul point situation. If they take it, G2Hell are going to continue stacking quite some nice dragons on top of each other. This is going to be the call for G2Hell. They are actually the ones going for the drakes right now.
Yes, they are. They have full control over the river as well, but there's still a Lilian on the back line. You're going to have the Ornn horn being popped. You get a nice... Oh, what a predict! Ooh. The flash from the support is not going to have them escape. Kiana is going to go down. A kill goes to Countess that has just popped her ulti as well. It's going to run out by the time she gets to the Drake. There's still Lilian around. I don't know if she has warded. Let me have a look. She's trying to sweep anything that she can get in contact with, but so many bushes she can't do very much about that. Countess tries to go in. You get the Lissandra instead. You get the set jumped into the whole squad of G2, and they've been melted at this point. You have Liliana finishing off the Ornn. Countess is on the other side of the team, but there's still some time for this to be counter-attacked. Sheena is still online, and you have the Drake starting to get a reset. They're not letting that happen. 50% health on this Drake. Dropping. You're gonna have the vision from the Scuttle Crab. Cosmic starting to attack the Drake herself. They're really splitting out the attention. You have some damage coming from Countess with the zoning, but who is going to be the one to take this one down? It's gonna be blue team with Clash Midnight stealing. Lilian also finishes off Tifa as they push in for another one. Countess has to go over the wall to remain safe. What a comeback. Very beautifully executed steal from Clash Midnight.
The synergy between Lilian and Sana in this team fight was crucial point as to why they won this one, but the fight is not over apparently because Sheena is looking for a way to go in. Lisa doesn't have the ultimate available, but Sheena does have her. She's going on to Delicate immediately. There is so much damage going in from Countess. Countess is unstoppable. It's going to be a kill for her on the enemy support, making sure that the kill score is going to stay 3-3 between the teams.
I want to hear it from you, Solari. How did that happen in particular? Because we had just watched Clash do so well in taking down that objective. They got nice control over the river. They started gathering the vision one after the other, sweeping away, taking the detection wards, and then all of a sudden that happened. How did it? Tell me.
The short answer will be the cooldowns. The cooldown for Cease and Desist for Sheena came back, and she knew it was the moment she could go in. Again, I was really looking at Lysia and her ultimate cooldown because it could have been another turning point for G2 to use it as the trigger to start the fight. Instead, they decided to use Sheena, and it was more than enough for them. Kaltis also had the ultimate available going in. She is sitting on the 2 items, just got an upgrade from Ornn on her Trinity Force as well. She's dealing a lot of damage as long as there is nobody stopping her, and G2Hell knew that nobody was pretty much going to stop her anymore because Clash Midnight were trying their best to disengage from that fight, not to try to turn this around.
It was very impressive what Clash could do and accomplish on that fight. I think it was pivotal how Sana played. The ulti from Sat right into the rest of the team was amazing. Very nicely done from Lilian as well to flank them. We'll see if that's going to be the case once again in this hovering that we have here in the mid lane, because Sheena might be the one to try to get something around that. But so far, I think G2 Countess has been just great at defending these turrets. Every time there is a push on the lane and Countess is there, the turret is not going down. At the same time, when she leaves, the tower is most likely going to go down. But it's something that G2 does, right, Solari? If they are doing that, it means they are getting something on the other side.
It's also what Zeri does. She has a very good wave clear on her side, and she has Lulu on her side. Columbable hasn't really left the side of Cultist for a really long time in this game right now. They are sticking together because Cultist is really dependent on this shielding from Lulu. There is some insect flying in my room, by the way, and I'm super scared of it. I hope it doesn't sit on me.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh, I love the zoom in that we have here for Columbable and Countess. We love Lulu. I mean, I love Lulu. I might be wrong. I love Yumi too. I think I'm a minority.
Let's
just not talk about it.
Your taste is already very questionable. Oh, this going in with the on right on the Cosmaker immediately just denies it with her ultimate. You cannot really glad when she has the ultimate. They want to turn this one around knowing that there's no own one available for Lysia anymore, but nope, they don't find anybody.
No Featherstorm either, so it's going to be your ADC without her biggest vulnerabilities, without invulnerabilities rather, and she still has that flash. So we see if G2 is going to go full in on this one. They have been spotted by a ward, and there is another ward as well. So how is that going to be executed? The champ is going to go onto Columbable. They fall very low. They have to ulti themselves while Senna goes in the backline with the ulti as well, and it's going to deal a lot of damage onto the carries. Very close. You have Countess trying to get some damage back, and there she is. It's coming back online with the ulti. She goes over the wall. 1v3, 1v4. Cosmic. Is she going to be able to do something about it? It's a flash away and a dodge from Cosmic. Countess is going to stop her chase. But what a turnaround from G2 when it looks like all the vision was flashes.
It was Cultist. It was pretty much almost single-handedly Cultist turning this fight around. I don't want to undermine anybody else in G2. Hell, everybody did exceptional in this fight, but her dealing so much damage to the enemies, her moving around the fight so quickly, no lockdown was there from the side of Clash Midnight to stop her on the spot, to stop her from spinning around and killing them, getting a double kill into her pockets, going 4-0-2 already with, by the way, a very big champion bounty on her head. If anybody from Clash Midnight kills her, they're going to get a lot of gold for their pockets immediately, but it's going to be very hard to kill her. 3-item power spike. Zeri is here, baby.
Yes, she is here. Not just with that, she has the augment, the on horn coming out clutch with the upgrade onto that item. And if you see 4-0-2 Countess with a Trinity upgraded, just be a little careful about that, okay? It's a good thing to be a little bit respectful of this player and the whole squad of G2 as they're turning this around when it looks to be a very good game for Clash Midnight. They have control over the pit, the Scuttle Crab as well. No wards in the pit either. Again, I'm going to highlight more bushes, the best it is to do sneaky things. And that's happening really well at this point. G2 has to get every Drake on the board. They have just finished previously to this the Baron, and it's going to be the second Drake of the game for them.
Remember though that if G2 are taking the Drake, and not really using the Baron buff for this time, and the time really runs short on this Baron buff. They lost quite a lot of minutes, and the lanes have been pushed into their side, especially on the top lane, which really played for the advantage of Clash Midnight. They didn't lose too much because of this Baron buff being given away to G2 Hell just yet. We will see how this is going to turn around just a little bit later. Delicate looking really dangerous, going on to Cultist, but cannot really catch you off guard, not this time. And can we go back to this fight for a second, because one thing I really want to highlight in Clash Midnight's play is how well this trap was set up by them, with Lilian and Sana going in immediately after this trap from Lilian hit. That looked like a very good fight for them. If only there was more control around Cultist, if only there was more emphasis on locking her down, and if only there wasn't Columbable who polymorphed Sana when she flew into the back lane of the enemies, not letting her do anything for way too long of a time.
It's very unfortunate for Clash Midnight Solari because when they went, of course, you're going to have your charm on the squishiest person possible when you have them in range. It was Colombo Blue, but you didn't have enough damage to lock her down before she could still come back from the charm and ulti herself. And from that moment on is what you said, pull him off on the carries as we see G2 pushing in this bot lane. They have taken down the tier 2. You have the on the mid as well. And the top lane is going to be Clash trying to push a little bit, get some pressure there. But if you're G2, you know better. You have the Baron buff. And as you said, Solari, he runs out pretty fast. With that, they clear out both tier 2s. But in mid, looking out pretty nice with 4k gold ahead.
The only lane where they don't have any control is the top lane. That's why they're trying to rotate Tifa there, but they don't have the auto turret there anymore. While auto turret for Clash Midnight somehow miraculously is still standing there while they've lost everything on the other two lanes. For G2, the choice is very obvious. Do you want to go and try to push through the top lane? Do you want to try to, continue pushing through some other lanes, considering that the Baron buff is over for them? They have only 2 minutes and 40 seconds before the next Baron is going to spawn. The choice is obvious. Go for the outer turret on the top lane. Zeri is going to be able to cut through it exceptionally quickly and then try to catch Clash somewhere else on the map. You're in a massive advantage right now. The goal difference between the teams, finally we see it happening. The items for G2, we see it happening. G2 Hell want to be fighting right now.
They really do. They're going to take this tier 2 on the top lane as well, and everything is just going to go down to the base turrets for the defense of the space for Clash Midnight. They're pushing it quite heavily with Lizzie and Altis. The rest of the team has been just around the corner. They don't really have vision of them. They're in the fog of war. They're going to be spotted as we speak should they try to go for any sort of engages. I don't think this is the best moment. You're out of minions. Your wave is still very far behind. So it's a good moment for you to try to rotate for other sides of the map. Maybe get a split push going on, not a split with just one person, but maybe get the efforts, 2 people on one side, 3 people on the other. There's 1 minute 40 for the next Drake. Very important for G2 that they get it in for Clash, that they really guarantee the soul for themselves.
It is such a scary situation though, because we have both objectives spawning at the same time. Which one are Clash Midnight choosing to give away to G2 Hell? They cannot afford to give away the Baron because it is going to be pretty much game over for them with how relentlessly G2 Hell have been already pushing up until this moment into their base. This could just be the last Baron and the last push for G2 Hell. At the same time, if G2 Hell take this Dragon, it's just putting them on the soul points to the same point as Clash Midnight, but it's not going to guarantee them a soul. It's not going to guarantee them a win condition. Clash Midnight really need to put an emphasis onto the top side of the map, or at least make sure there is not going to be a sneaky Baron coming from G2 Hell. Oh my god, Sana!
When did that happen? It was off screen, but it was Countess flying away, trying to kite away from the Senna. They don't manage to do so, but there's still 1 kill coming out for the squad of G2, as actually it's Clash Midnight cleaning things up. When G2 comes back in clutch, the passive from Lysandra is really essential to get the slow and the damage coming out in the AoE. Now Delicate is the only person left standing. Is this the moment that G2 can actually guarantee the deny of this Drake soul?
It has to be. They have the time to rotate to the Drake, and they are already on this part of the map, so go in, take it, maybe even have the audacity to rotate immediately towards the Baron, because 25 seconds on the clock is a timer for the majority of Clash Midnight members right now. Take the Dragon, take the Baron. This is going to be your game. G2 Hell, you're 5-10 already. You're leading super massively against the enemy team. You just showcased it in the very last fight. And if I were to highlight anybody in that fight, I think actually it would be Lysia, because she was exceptional, proving to us that Owen again is a powerhouse, is a machine, can do anything. Do you need some disengage tools? Do you need to protect your back lane? Owen can do that. Throw in the unknown, throw in the Call the Forge Gods, making sure you're knocking up the opponents who are trying to go for your backline, who are trying to kill the poor little Lulu support. Your support is staying alive, their support not, their pretty much everybody is not.
I'm going to see this flash over the wall potentially for the Nautilus. Kiana goes in, takes down the vision, places some herself, and it's very important for them to do so because there's no Drake on the board. It has been taken out by G2, but the Baron is though. So we're going to see what is going to be the next step for G2 as they are conquering the area, taking down the vision themselves, and they're going to start it. There's going to be a lot of damage and DPS coming out from cultist. She is so powerful at the stage. The Baron is melting, and look at Lizia single-handedly keeping the team from QLASH Midnight away from this. Do we have Lilian going in for it? No, it's Baron has been slain by G2. Hellcaller the Forge gets 3 of them knocked up, and a lot of damage coming out from the set ulti, but now it's going to be Cultist trying to kite them away. Well, not exactly kite down the way, would you say, Solari? Definitely kiting them in, because she's hunting ace for G2 Hell.
Lizia is back at it again. We saw already the 5-man knockout from her. Nah, in the Rising Stars in the end of last year. This time, I don't even know how many men knockout it was from her, but it was exceptional. And G2 Hell are taking not just the Baron, they are taking the mid lane of the enemies. They are taking these 2 turns. G2 Hell, ladies and gentlemen, are going to be the winners of the first season of Pathfinders. They are taking the prize. They are the crown champion. And again.
Yet again, another women's tournament that we love to see. This time is going to be Pathfinders, the first